under her direction and vision that we have been doing webinars on various topics since March 2020. Let me now introduce Mrs. Radha Bhatia to you. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, dear panelists. I think this is one of the best panel sessions. Mr. Anupam Kher, Ishi Khoslaji, and of course, our great, I call him a little boy, but he's a big boy now, Vikram Chandra. With Vikram, I go back many years because I played with his mom. Anupam ji, you remember how we met? In the lift of Roseate Hotel. And I appreciate the food which you eat at the Kheer. I can never forget that. But COVID has stopped your coming there. Dear Ishi, we met in a webinar session. We at Bird Group are driven by the motivation and with my age, my family did not allow me to go out. So I thought what to do and how to connect with people. So I started with two types of webinars. One was for the leadership, we call it the Leadership Initiative. And the other one came for the students because the younger generation are not the leaders, but they are leaders for tomorrow. We have to tell them that, listen, your best day is today. In spite of the COVID, you have many opportunities to learn through the webinars, and these are what we are carrying out. To carry on with webinars with all eminent people who can inspire. I know the younger generation and even the older ones are quite frustrated. I think India never needed any psychiatrists, but these are the people who are a psychiatrist to the society. They are motivating people to do new things, the new ways. Isn't it wonderful that we are together today? Anupam ji, I really like your best day is today. And if I'm not mistaken, this was taught to you by your mother. जो आज है, वो कल नहीं होगा. आज को ही अच्छी तरह सुंदर सजा के रखो. और आज का दिन हमारे इस वेबिनार इनिशिएटिव का खास अहम दिन है जो कि आपसे बातचीत हो रही है. आप तो मोटिवेशनल एक्सपर्ट हैं, पर डियर इशी, ये हमारी हेल्थ की मोटिवेशनल है. तो आज हम दोनों को ज्वाइन करेंगे कि हेल्थ और लीडरशिप कैसे साथ साथ करके और एक नई जिंदगी हम लोग बिता सकें. On to Vikram. Sorry, Mr. Vikram Chandra. I could not find any other moderator than Vikram to connect with the two eminent people. On to you, Vikram.
Thank you so much, Radha ma'am, for that introduction. And I have to say, it's a really long time since somebody said, describe me as a little boy. So I will thank you for that. You made my day. May well be one of the best days, just for that one reason. And it's obviously a great pleasure for me to be speaking to two people whom I've admired in their own fields for a really long time. Anupam Kher, of course, whom I have watched, more rules than I can count, and always made an impact every time I saw him on screen or anywhere else. And Ishi Costa, whose advice I have frequently tried to follow when it comes to what I should eat and not eat, and if I'm eventually healthy, I suspect you will have a lot to do with it, Ishi. So thank you for that. Without much ado, let me just start off by turning to the panelists. And Anupam ji, why don't I start with you? How do you convince us that today is the best day?
If it needs to be convincing thing to be done, then it is not your best day. You have to presume it that is your best day. That's how you deal with life. I'm an eternal optimist. For me, the ultimate definition of optimism is nothing is all wrong. Even a clock that has stopped running is correct twice a day. So when you come from a poor family background, from childhood, you are told that today is your best day. And that's what the title of the book suggests, because when I was finished writing this book, I thought, what should I be calling this book? And then I remembered my mother used to drop me and my brother to school, to this very local kind of a school. And at the gate, he used to tell us in Kashmiri, Chonuk az dost susani ko jaan, in Kashmiri, but which meant your best days today. Especially in COVID and in lockdown, it made us more realize that we keep running past nowhere. We keep planning for 3 months later what we'll do, and this is how much money I will earn, this is what I will buy, this is what I will keep for my people. And then one virus destroys all those possibilities, and you discover, no, it is important to enjoy the time that you are spending now. That's why it's an interesting conversation to be. I'm talking to you after a long time. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and it certainly is my best day today. And for this wonderful initiative that Radhaji has started, I love the name of it, and it's a mindset. You have to decide. Otherwise, you can't postpone happiness, you can't postpone hope, you can't postpone optimism, you can't postpone goodness. You have to believe in all that in moment to moment, because half of our worries are imaginary. And my grandfather used to say, don't go through a problem twice, once by thinking about it and once by going through it. So I would like to believe that this is our best day.
Great. And of course, today we are over the next hours going to be talking about how do you find joy? How do you find joy today? How do you find joy tomorrow? How do you find joy beyond the lockdown? Actually, I think most people aren't really locked down anymore. And let's hope that the virus is on its way out. But how do we find joy? That's going to be pretty much the theme. Before I come to Ishi, though, Anupam sir, I have to say that in many ways today has been a really good day for you. I've been seeing your Twitter feed. You've been you sounded quite touched to have got a letter from the Prime Minister, and a letter which obviously shows that he did read your book and read it in some detail.
Yes. Oh yeah, it was. I had sent my book to him about 3 weeks back, just because I like to. I'm an accidental author, so when somebody introduces me as an actor and author, I feel very happy. Means acting I've been doing for a long time. And last night I got his letter, and I was really touched by the fact that not only it could have been a very simple letter and I would have been equally happy that received your letter. I hope it does well. But the fact that he wrote all the details, what the book deals with, and then his own book made a reference to his own book, it made me feel happy. And the reference to the title of the book, and also that what my mother has taught me, the values that I hope to inculcate or hope to practice, it made me very happy. And I think that's a great achievement, I would like to say, because the book is about goodness. The book is about finding silver linings in dark clouds. The book is finding compassion. The book is about listening. The book is about a pause in your life. It is not a book which chronicles my stay in India during lockdown only. I was dealing with my own fear of having come back to Mumbai from New York on the 20th of March 2020, and discovered that I had never seen Mumbai like that. And it really dawned on me that I thought I was on a set of a a movie called I Am Legend with Will Smith, where he's the only surviving person in the world. So that's why if he had said something like this about my autobiography or something like that, then maybe. But this is a book which, as you said very correctly, which needs to spread maybe joy later, but positivity. So then a kind of reaffirmation from the Prime Minister himself gives you a great feeling of joy.
So just, trying to find secrets that you need to pick up. So in fact, I'll quote from his letter to you. He says, the PM said, the wisdom of your mother, Srimati Dulari ji, in filling such positivity and spirit of purpose in her child each day has clearly paid off in your achievements. So is that part of the secret? Stay positive. No matter what is happening, stay positive. If there's a lockdown, stay positive. Not being able to go to work,
Vikram, I came from a very poor family. अब तो poor family के अलग-अलग नाम हो गए हैं. We call them lower middle class, upper middle class, middle class. But earlier, when I was born, you are either garib or you are very middle class or rich. My mother used to give us this dabba of rice and dahi, and we went to a school which did not even have a proper name. It was called Fagli School because Fagli was the locality that the school was situated in. And she had nothing to give us except for this sentence. Then can you imagine a 5th standard guy and my younger brother, 3rd standard guy, he's standing at the gate and his uneducated mother, their uneducated mother is telling them, your best day is today. So when you went into the school, whether you were good at studies or whether you were good at sports, you felt that the mother has said that it is your best day, it must be my best day. Also, once I asked my grandfather, I said, Dadaji, we are very poor. Why are we happy? Because we were a large family of 14 people living in a small room. And I always found ourselves happy. I always found ourselves okay. There was I'm sure they had their own days of depression or sadness or misery or whatever it is, but we did not feel it. So I asked my grandfather, why are we happy? We are so poor. He said something very interesting. He said, when you're very poor, the cheapest luxury is happiness. So I think you were brought up like that. My father, I had to give my report card to my father to sign him in the 9th grade. And I was 59th in my class. And he saw my 59th grade and he said, how many students are in the class? I said 60. So I thought now he's going to scold me and not going to say, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? He took a little pause and then he said, the person who stands first in his class has always the stress that he has to stand first. Even if he comes second, he feels he has been demoted. But a person who stands 59th can always be 48th, 37th, 29th. Do me a favor, next time be 48th in your class. And then he said a sentence which was amazing to a 14-year-old boy. He said, failure is an event, never a person. So I think it's your family which first gives you the foundation of hope, the foundation of positivity. It starts from there.
Right. Those are some really interesting points to touch upon. Ishi Khosla, if I could get you in now. So the importance of positivity, the importance of that sort of joy is clearly there. Is that as important as having a good diet?
I think we can't de-link the two. And today, the way we see the connection between food and mood, it seems to be so intertwined and so affecting each other. So your food can affect your mood and your mood can affect your food. So, and well, this is just not philosophical, there is pure science around it. And I think what Anupam ji has just said is something which really are pearls of wisdom, which we seem to lose somewhere in the rush and the lifestyles we are leading today with mindless things that we do. And like he said, with the COVID and the kind of pause button that was pressed around us, around globally, it hit everybody, and that pause was needed in a certain way. And it was unfortunate that we had to pay a price for it. But certainly, if the positive side is to be looked at, it has made a lot of people realize this, that what you put into your mouth, your food, is important. It's not only about food is pleasure, food is happiness. And food is also something which nourishes your body, and you are responsible about what goes into your mouth. And we've always talked about it. We it's not a new concept that your diet is important as you grow, as you get into different parts of your life cycle. The diet needs to change. It's not new, but somewhere I think we were disconnecting the value of food and nutrition with respect to our body and what it was doing to us. And it's unfortunate that COVID has brought this into the limelight. Even people who were completely indifferent to what they were eating and what they chose to eat have now are no longer indifferent. I can see that with my patients, asking for more and more immunity boosting recipes and immunity boosting foods and diets and supplements and what have you. So yes, coming back to the question on joy and food, I would go back to something which, that feeling. We all know that, we have a gut wrenching feeling. We have butterflies in our stomach. So that we made those connections. It's a gut feeling, and that is where modern science is linking up food and your digestive system or your gut or your ability to handle food, different kinds of foods, which affect your mood. And there is what we call a gut-brain connection. I don't want to sound jargonish, but certainly I would like to bring it up as simply as saying that today scientists say that there is a second brain in our gut, and it is connected by the vagus nerve. It's called the gut-brain axis. And it is even more important than the brain that we conventionally believe is on our head, inside our head. And it's as it's interesting to see that if there are 8 messages, if there is one message from the brain to the gut, there are 8 from the gut to the brain. So it's as important. And and we see that most of the happiness hormones, the tryptophan, the dopamine, the serotonin, and the melatonin, they are all secreted in our gut. So somewhere the links are being 80 to 90% of these neurotransmitters are in the gut. So I think that highlights the importance of what goes into your mouth and how happy you are or how sad you are. And I'm sure Anupamji is eating right for him to be able to live this positivity.
We're going to ask you, in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to ask you the secrets, like what should you be eating to make sure that your gut is sending the right happy messages up there. But Anupamji, if I can come to you, there's a line in your book about learning to dance in the rain rather than waiting for the storm to pass. So as we're looking for that ability to stay happy, and I'm sure she's going to tell us as to how you can eat right to keep that attitude going. How does a viewer watching this, how do you get that attitude? It's raining. Like, how do I dance and not wait for it to go away? And that's particularly relevant because the storm may well be with us for a while.
A very similar line was written to me by my grandfather. You see, I was very fortunate. I keep on stressing on the fact that I lived in a joint family. Because joint family, there is somebody or the other as a child to answer your questions. Whether they are right answers or not, that's a separate issue. But child has a lot of curiosity. When I came to Bombay to be an actor, I was a gold medalist from drama school. But I was balding, I was thin in my early 80s. That was the last thing that you required to be an actor. You had to have a good set of hair and a photo shoot by Gautam Rajadhyaksha at that time. And I was thin. I was so thin that I could see it through a keyhole with my eyes. And I told everybody that I want to be an actor. They will say, "Aap assistant ban jao, aap writer ban jao." And then started a whole period of about 1 year when I was almost homeless. I was sleeping on the railway platforms. I don't want to talk about it to romanticize what I went through, but that's a reference point of my life. So I told my grandfather that I don't want to live here. I want to go back to Mumbai or to Delhi or to Lucknow or to Shimla because I'm humiliated. I feel very humiliated. I'm an educated actor. So he wrote back a letter to me, and in that letter he said, "Stay back. You are a drama school boy. Your parents have really worked very hard, and you have also now stayed there for 1 year. Remember, bhiga hua aadmi barish se nahi darta." So this is the line I wanted to. कि भीगा हुआ जो आदमी है वो बारिश से नहीं डरता. आप भीगे हुए आदमी को बारिश में खड़ा कर दो, वो क्या डरेगा इस बात से? हैप्पीनेस की प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ती है विक्रम. You have to tell yourself that I will not let anything affect me for the next 3 months. And this is not something which I know a lot of people will think ऐसा थोड़ा होता है, हमारी life में बड़ी tragedies होती हैं. You can either look at what is not happening in your life, or you can think what is happening in your life. So if you practice for 3 months that whatever may happen, God forbid you may not lose somebody, etc. But whatever may happen, I will not get upset about it. I will remain calm and I'll be happy. After 3 months, you will get used to it. You just have to delay your response by 3 to 4 seconds. It is something we get too indulgent with our miseries. I know that miseries make us feel closer to ourselves. Even as an actor, I always feel that tragedy is easy to do because everybody can identify with your sorrows. If you see somebody losing somebody in the family on the screen, or somebody is going through some bimari or something like that, it's easy to identify. But it's very difficult to make people laugh because laughter is physical, happiness is physical. So I think you have to practice it. And what is the idea of staying sad or morose or depressed? I'm not talking about clinical depression. That's a separate issue. But it also gives you sadness, also gives you a false impression of being important. Anger is an emotion which gives you a false impression of being important. मुझे गुस्सा आया, मैं गुस्से में हूं, मैं दुखी हूं. What do you do when you are दुखी? पुराने गाने सुनते हो, राम के गाने तो लाइटें ऑफ कर देते हो. But when you are happy, you want to go out, you want to meet people, you want to connect with people. I have not used 2 words for the last 31 years consciously. You will never hear me saying mood nahi hai and bore ho gaya hu. I will never said. I decided a long time back. So it's something you have to decide. You have to pick up. It's like food, na? You have to decide at the end of it what makes you happy. Means you can, Ishiji will correct me. You can either feel very happy for those 20 minutes of the taste, or what you go through for the 2 hours or 3 hours afterwards. Absolutely. So it's a discipline. It's an emotion which you need to. I'll rather be happy and make other people happy than be upset or sad or morose or irritable. Being irritable is the easiest thing in the world.
This is such good advice. Train yourself to be happy. Tell yourself you will not be miserable, and you actually find yourself happy. But you see, the point that Anupamji was just making, let me throw that to you. Sometimes you eat food because you get that happiness when you're eating something, but you are now telling us if it's the wrong thing that you're eating, it's going to sit in your gut and make you unhappy for the next 2 to 3 hours. Is that a fair way of describing it? And if so, what should you be eating so that your gut is sending the right messages?
That's a very good question, but it is a longish answer, so I'll try and make it as crisp. But yes, how do you know what you should be eating? It's literally that gut feeling, but sometimes it is interesting that I have to say this, that sometimes your gut may be getting injured without your having gut symptoms. So that's really, so the science around it, and which is why many people don't realize that they're eating wrong, because the body is not giving out the symptoms in the gut. So I have say a person who's depressed in antidepressants, or has a bipolar problem, or any other mental illness or anxiety for that matter. And if you ask them if you have any digestive issues, mostly they say yes, but sometimes they say no, we have nothing. But I say I have evidence from your blood work that there is you need to avoid certain foods, and but it doesn't bother us. So it is something which whoever is listening must know, that just because you don't have digestive symptoms, it doesn't mean your gut is not hurting. So there are what they are called silent food sensitivities. So I would probably just end up saying that foods which are good for you are what we call anti-inflammatory foods. And there is a whole lot of conversation around it. Again, it sounds like jargon, but it really is about the kind of effect that food is having on your system. And these pro-inflammatory foods which light the fire. So inflammation is nothing but Aag. So Aag is like a spark, an Agni. If you have too much of heat, it is going to cause inflammation, and that inflammation can be counterproductive. A certain amount of Agni is needed, but when it goes out of hand, it is when it causes problems, and it can cause problem in your brain and give you, psychiatric problems, or neurological problems, or it can be on your joints, or it can be on your, so it can go on and on. So essentially, how I would say, an ideal diet would be something which reduces, all of this is mediated through the little tiny bugs that you can't even see within your with your eyes. They're called the microflora, the tiny bacteria, fungus, viruses, which sit inside our gut and are actually determining who we are. And if they are not happy, we are not happy. So these little bacteria, fungi, or the microflora, microbiota, whatever you want to call it, if they get disturbed with chemicals, they get disturbed with too much of sugar, they get disturbed with too much of stress or poisons around us. So the diet has to be something which is anti-inflammatory. The foods which trigger food sometimes are, in certain people who have food sensitivities, are gluten and dairy, and they have a huge, they have what we call opioid effects in our, directly affecting our brain. They have, we have something called gluteomorphine and casomorphine, which are molecules which affect your brain. So for a lay audience, I would just leave it at the fact that, pro-inflammatory proteins and excessive chemicals, pesticides, and too many medicines should be kept away, because these tiny bugs inside us get troubled, and when they are troubled, they trouble our gut, and they trouble our brains and our mood and our general well-being, and then it leads to from minor deficiencies, disorders, to diseases, and that's the way it works. So
avoid pro-inflammatory food is what you're saying, which will in some cases will be specific to people if it's gluten or dairy or those sort of intolerance. But in a more general sense, you seem to be saying avoid too much processed food and have more natural. Would that be a correct way of looking at it?
So yes, so I must add that to my answer, that yes, we need, what are the anti-inflammatory foods? So increase the quotient of what we always hear about good health is increase those vegetables and fruits, the brightly colored vegetables and fruits, now also called like a rainbow diet. These are the chemicals in food which will help our mood, which will enhance our mood. The good fats in our diet, fat again has become a very bad, it has a bad reputation. But let me tell you, there are good fats which affect our mood directly. These are what are found in fish, and the omega-3 fats and the brain. So the populations in the world who eat these high levels of omega-3 fats do not have these inflammatory conditions. They don't have depression. They don't have arthritis. They don't have heart disease, despite having very high fat diets. So the benefit really comes from these anti-inflammatory fats in our diet. So have good fats, have healthy fats that do not have highly processed and refined oils. Are good old fats. Let's just go back to the basics, the cold pressed oils, the virgin coconut oils, the sesame oil, the mustard oil. We don't have to have olive oil. Of course, if you can, wonderful. But yeah, our traditional ghee and butter are excellent fats. So these are anti-inflammatory. And all the good, the probiotics and the prebiotics and the fiber and lots of water, because all the nerve transmission in the body happens through with water if there's adequate fluids in the body. So everything. So diet is so large a subject. So I don't think I want to get into all the aspects of it, but yes, certainly remove the pro-inflammatory and add the anti-inflammatory components. And I think we are in a good place. And if it needs further decoding, we can do it if we have time.
Yes, we should have
I don't want to hog the life at the time with Anupam ji there.
No, we we'll decode it a little bit further, but all this talk about inflammatory food and non-inflammatory, anti-inflammatory food. Anupamji, I have to ask you, I mean, you spend so much time also on things like social media and the other things. Now, is keeping calm, being positive, being happy, all of that. A lot of people will say it's very difficult to do that in the modern time, because even if you're feeling, peaceful and calm and serene and not wanting to let things bother you, the minute you switch on your TV set or you're getting onto social media and you're having all of this stuff coming at you, how do you still remain positive? How do you still say, I'm not going to think negative thoughts when you seem to be surrounded by a lot of negativity?
So the person who has decided to be happy or decided to be positive does not mean that he does not go through all the other emotions, as I said earlier. But if you can detach yourself, in my book I say that stop watching news. I know, thank God, you are not a regular news person now, because all my friends in media say, why have you written that? I decided 3-4 years back that I will not sleep with the news and I will not wake up with the news. I made a conscious decision. And I actually did that. I switch off at very early. I don't watch news in the night, and I don't watch newspapers, because इससे तकलीफ हो सकती है. And social media, maybe if you, it's also written in my book that I decided that I will take a break from social media for 1 month and I'll see whether I can survive that or not. And I discovered that I could. And when you can discover that these are the things that you are not completely dependent on, it's such an amazing feeling of triumph. If what is written in social media about you is truth, I will want to change that about myself. If it is not the truth, I have the capability of ignoring it. The other thing is that, as I said to you, that it is a matter of practice. Vikram, I don't know, you come across as a very calm person, so I don't think you have these issues. But if you meet somebody in your neighborhood or among your friends, tell them to practice, really practice. It's like any other habit. It's like driving a car. The more you drive it, the more free you become with it. When you're learning it, it's difficult. You don't know how to go about it. And then you sort of fix the rear mirror and you turn around. It's just a matter of how there are only 4 to 5 people who matter, whose opinion should matter to you. We are constantly made to feel in today's time that somebody else is doing better than you. We are living in a world where somebody else is doing better than you. It's being told to you by social media that somebody has more followers than you. You got more mentions, you got more likes, you got less people. Instagram में मैंने इतनी अच्छी फोटो डाली थी, इसमें जितना ज़्यादा है नहीं. So you are living in a world where you are constantly being told that somebody is superior to you. Then you're also living in a world where there is a breaking news after every 15 minutes on 50 different news channels, and breaking news is never about good things. So you are also made to believe that you are living in a dangerous world. You're living in a world where you can't trust anybody. You're living in a world that is only rape, bhraštachar, nonsense, keep on going on. So where do you drive your strength from? You have to go back to yourself. You have to discover who you are as a person. My first book was The Best Thing About You Is You. In that I had said that you need to find out. And this is what I do when I do my motivational lectures, that I tell the person to describe yourself in one word. So let me ask you, Vikram, if you have to describe yourself in one word, what will that word be?
It's an interesting. I don't know. I never really thought about it. I mean, I would like to believe I'm calm. I would like to believe that I'm calm, and I'd like to think that I'm unfocused. So,
like, let me ask Ishiji, if she has to describe herself in one word, what will that word be? As a person, not as a professional.
Content.
Content. So that decides your life. Some people say, I'm an optimist. I call myself in one word optimist. तो मैं कोई ना कोई चीज हर जगह में ढूंढ ही लेता हूँ. मैं कोई ना कोई चीज में कोई ना कोई हैप्पीनेस का पॉइंट ढूंढ ही लेता हूँ. मुझे अभी बोला, everybody, my manager was saying that, oh, you have to be at this place, you have to be there 5 minutes before that. So what if technical? I said, look, my father used to say, if failure is an event, never a person. So you have to decide yourself. You have to detach anger or other emotions, you will always be, so there are some people who are unhappy. There means I could be very unhappy thinking, why am I not Brad Pitt? But I should be very happy by thinking who I am. There is no end to it.
So, Anupam ji,
Small town boys, let me just finish. Sorry. Small town boy from Shimla, whose father was a clerk in the forest department, is sitting in Falak Numa Taj and talking about what makes him happy or what is their good diet. It's a fantastic situation to be in. I always keep that small boy, my ghar ka name is Bittu. My reference point of my happiness is that small town boy who is always alive around me. So when I feel, oh my God, last year I earned more money than this year, that small boy, Bittu, tells me that you came to this city, idiot, on the 3rd of June, 1981 with 37 rupees. So the moment that small town boy comes back to me and sort of says that, I feel, oh my God, and you have done 518 films. Hamari constantly a raftar, we are running fast nowhere. So I don't know. I do have my moments of sadness. I do have my moments of irritation. I'm very ambitious. So that doesn't, I'm not, as far as my work is concerned, I want to be the best in a film. I want to do my book to do well. I go to the airports and check out the counters of the airport. Ki meri kitab kisme? I was very thrilled. I went to three bookshops today at the airport. So I have not left that sense of adventure, a sense of wonder in my life. The problem comes when you let go of that sense of wonder.
So, Anupam ji, it's very interesting, and just as a sort of a personal aside, because you were asking this question. So it's ever since I left television news, I've also stopped watching television news, and I can't tell you to a certain extent, it feels as if you've gone to a spa, right? It's like exactly. Serenity comes in because you're not surrounded by negativity. And even on Editor G, which is the company that I now run, it's just simple factual news without the yelling and the screaming and
it's such a refreshing change.
So you inform people what is happening, but without all the masala
interpretations,
which there is in it. And I just feel that to that extent, these 2 years have brought me a lot more serenity than there was earlier. So I think your advice is correct. Distance yourself a little bit also from a lot of the negativity around you. You will automatically feel a lot more serene and a lot more calm. And
also, I don't carry
my former profession, TV news is not necessarily the most serene of places to be in.
Yeah, and also I also don't carry the burden of Anupam Kher on my shoulders. Okay. I don't carry, that is such a relief. Can you imagine me I walk into the airports alone. I don't have any bodyguards, any paraphernalia. I go to somebody's house, I go and buy. I live the life of a normal person. Because what happens is today I have 4 bodyguards. Tomorrow I'm not able to afford it. I will have 1. So why get into a situation like that? I am so sure of who I am. That's the joy of making it on your own. That is the fun of it. And I don't lie to myself. If I have done badly in a film, even if 10 people are telling me, wow, Anupam ji, kya baat hai, I know that I have messed it up. So I don't lie to myself. That makes a lot of difference.
I think that's really important. You should want to know that you want to react to any of this, because I think it also needs a bit of a tough point. You have to be able to step back and not carry that, anything which is. I still have people coming up to me, oh, don't you miss it? You're not on television. What will happen if you're not on TV? You're not a TV anchor. I say I'm happy. I'm calmer than I ever was.
Yes,
I'm delighted about that. Is your sense on any of this?
Yeah, I think I resonate with every word which Anupam ji has said. And I must add the fact that when we were growing up as children, my father said exactly the 2 things which Anupam ji has just said. We were not even allowed to say ke mood nahi hai. It was just not okay. And to say hum bore ho rahe hain meant that we can't say that. What do you mean ke bore ho rahe hain? Find things to do. You cannot use those 2 words. So I was, it was such a pleasant, to hear this comment was really taking me back to my childhood. And I think, therefore, happiness is a habit which needs to be created, and we do gravitate, like he said. I agree with everything that he is saying without any qualification. And I just would add that I think one of the reasons why we end up doing a lot of silly things and becoming unhappy, or we struggle with our emotions negatively, is we take ourselves too seriously. And therefore the ability to lighten that, and to be a critic for yourself, to be able to laugh at yourself, is important. So don't take yourself so seriously. Do whatever, like he said, be ambitious. So am I am also very, I like to put in my best, yet I like my pace. So we can be a combination of all of those things. But the bottom line is that you have to see life as a larger canvas. And if that canvas has a few things which are not okay, you must focus on the things which are okay. And that's what will give you joy. But if you have a telescopic view all the time and you focus on the negatives, which we are compelled to, like we're talking about, everything that sells is negative, it's unfortunate. So we do need to de-link ourselves. And having said that, I have also, with during these COVID times, we've got rid of newspapers. We hardly watched television. It was, so we've done those things. And like you said, we've learned to be above it. We can survive. We still get to know the news. We filter it and we see what we want to. And so I mean, it's really nice to hear these things.
Okay, I'm going to start taking some questions that are coming in. Remember, you can fire them in on chat and various other things. So Amit, Madan, and Nidhi Sharma, I have a slightly similar question, which I'm going to throw to you, Anupam sir. Amit wants to know, Anupam sir, what, as per you, is the purpose of life? Your advice basically to people in midlife crisis. So what's the purpose of life? And Nidhi says, what do you think is the essence of life? So what is the purpose or the essence of life?
Purpose of life is to live. Purpose of life is to enjoy every morning you get up and say, thank you, God, I am one of the few people who have woken up today. Purpose of life is to sort of live life. It's so amazing that my father, who died 9 years back from a strange disease, that he suddenly stopped feeling hungry and thirsty. So he almost starved to death. And so I had told my brother that please call me whenever, if he's very unwell. So my brother one day told me that he wants to talk to you. When I reached my brother's house, he did not have the energy because he had not eaten for days, and doctor had told us you can take him home now because he should go from his house, from my brother's house. So he had put a paper on his chest, and because he did not have the energy to speak, so he started writing something on a piece of paper and trying to hide it from me that he's writing something important. And after say about 10 minutes, he gave the paper to me and I picked it up. Now he's waiting for my answer. What is he written to that? And unfortunately, he did not have the energy to form sentences. They were just lines on the blank paper. And now he's waiting that you have read it. Now tell me the answer. So I just made some general statements. Yes, yes, Dad, of course, of course. And he was a little disappointed. And then he called me to his mouth and he whispered 2 words in my ears just 20 minutes before he died. He said, live life. For a person who was going to die in the next 20 minutes, his last words were live life. So purpose of life is to enjoy every simple moment. We indulge too much of what is not happening in my life. And we forget every person, a person who have asked me, have a biopic. A biopic can be made on everybody's life, not only Ishiji's, not only Bikram, yours, not only mine, but every common person has lived a life which is that of courage. We forget about that and we start comparing our life with somebody else. The purpose of life and the essence of life is to live it every moment and to have compassion for other persons. It is important to have compassion for somebody else. We are becoming too self-centered. We are too involved in ourselves and we are too jumpy. Like I'm a nervous flyer. So every time the flight does a little bumpy, I get little jerk because I'm expecting it to happen. But in life, it should not happen. Just live every morning, get up, notice yourself. Also give importance to yourself. You are the best thing that has happened to you. and your strength is you. That is the purpose of life, according to me.
Right. A couple of other questions. One, how do we stay positive if nothing is going in the right direction? Muzaffar Ansari has put that question. If nothing is going in the right direction, how do you still stay positive?
Change the direction.
Change the direction.
Yes.
Okay, that's a simple and an easy way to look at it.
Yeah, simple. Yeah.
Tanima Nigam says, do you think people work the whole life earning and then retired life is to reap the benefits of that? You know, this is a really fascinating question. I'm going to throw this to both of you because I sometimes see this and I sometimes wonder about it. You see people slaving their entire life, not having time for family, not having time for anything else. You're just saying, I'm working. And when I retire, that's when I'm going to enjoy life. What is your take on that? Is that right?
I don't think that.
I
don't think that happened. We are talking about people like my parents. My father used to leave at 7:30 in the morning, and he will walk for 15 kilometers from our home in Shimla to his office and come back walking 15 kilometers at 8 o'clock. That was his monotony of life. But I never saw him depressed about it, because he said journey is much more important than destination. And my take on it is that if your path is not problematic, if your path does not have its ups and downs, if it does not have ditches, it does not have roadblocks, then it's not worth walking on that path. It's so boring in terms of that sense that when we are talking about. In terms of, if I look back, you only talk about what went wrong when you meet your old friends. Yaad hai phir kya hua tha usme kya? What I did during this, when I wrote this book, I called up 10th standard students of mine. We had a black and white picture of 57 boys in that picture. And I called up 32 students out of that. And we only talked about what was wrong in our lives. We paid too much attention on the journey. But I think destination is important. Or my father ko retirement depression ho gaya tha. Because at the age of 58, when the government of India retired him, he was suddenly made to believe that it's over for him. And he actually lived his life after 50. हमारे हिंदुस्तान में थोड़ा सा ये है कि 50 साल के होने लग जाएं, तो I went out of India 2 years back because they had started calling me thespian, legend, veteran. That means you have done your job. Now we will give you Lifetime Achievement Award, and then you walk into the sunset. I'm 65 today, and I think my life has just started.
Very interesting. Your sense on that, and again, you know, when you meet people and you see what they're going through, do you think sometimes being busy is actually one of the ways to get joy, or should you not be that busy and have time to smell the flowers? Because sometimes you hear contradictory pieces of advice. One says, be as busy as you can. The other says, you know, look at the sunset, smell the flowers, take life easy.
Interesting question, Vikram, because I have seen a wide variety of people in my career as well as in my family. And while I completely agree with what Anupam ji said about the fact that the journey is important and a work-life balance is wonderful, and you know, that you, like you said, you know, just savor every bit of the moments that you should be spending with your family and you know, with your friends and your loved ones. Having said that, and I believe that, and I would like the privilege of going through my life in that fashion, I also see people for whom life is only about a drive, about achieving, and they get their high. That's their dope. And if they don't get that, they are miserable. So every day, if it's work which is driving somebody, and that work is taken away, they become nervous. So they're unhappy. And I have a very close friend of mine, I won't name him, but he tries hard to de-link himself from his work, but he is so passionate about his work that is where he is. His heart and soul is there. And if he goes for a holiday, or if he gets away from his place of work, he definitely has psychosomatic symptoms. He gets nauseous, he wants to get back. So I would definitely respect that also as an important, they're a part of our society, they're part of us, and maybe recognize that as a need for being who they are and living the life they want. But for me, and I would just draw from examples of very, very illustrious people who always say that, and the last wishes were, when they rewind their lives, they feel that they wish they had spent more time with their loved ones and their family rather than times in the office, the hours in the office. So yes, while we do see that at the end of the journey for many people who have achieved a lot, I do respect the need for people who are on a constant drive. My father-in-law, even on the last day when he was in a ventilator, he wasn't that old. He went early. He had diabetes and several complications, etc. But his thing was to get back out of the hospital and get back to doing what he had to do, and give instructions to all the people around. So yes, so for them that's their passion, and so be it. So
Anubhuti, I just want to toss one more thing to you. I mean, like, I have to say, Durari ji, your mother has become, in the last few months, actually probably nearly as famous as you.
No, more famous than I am. She's much more famous.
I mean, I was being polite. So she's like, everyone has sort of been really admiring her spirit and talking so much about her. One of the most important things, taking off from what Rishi was saying, is family. And I've heard you talking so much about family. So close relationships and family in particular. Is that really one of the secrets of finding joy?
You see, I totally agree with Ishiji that she was saying that the point is, in this pandemic, we discovered the importance of pause in life. We collectively, forcibly were made to take a pause. As an actor, I understand the meaning of pause. My teacher, drama teacher, used to always say, an actor who can hold the pause for a longer time is a very fine actor. But this pandemic, this lockdown gave us time to go inwards. एक collective meditation हुई है, और उसमें क्या realize हुआ कि the only thing three things that we need in life, actually this pandemic and this lockdown made us realize that we want to be, first thing that we need is we want to be with our closed ones. Somehow or the other, when this whole thing was announced, people wanted to go to their parents or to your husband and wife or your family. That was the number one thing that was required. Number two was essential commodity. Family does play a very important role. Family is the only reference point of your life. बाकी तो need based friends होते हैं, और जो बचपन के दोस्त होते हैं वो important होते हैं. As I was saying it little earlier, that there are only few people who matter, who will be honest with you. The rest of them are telling you what you want to hear. So this pandemic underlined the importance of family. Also, I feel that people who are constantly driven by work are basically habitual. It's become a habit. It's like smoking. Smoking is not always maybe only about the tobacco of it. It's the habit that you take out the cigarette, then you take out the packet, then you do this to this, and you do, and so it's a habit. So people who say that I'm wanting to work, I'm constantly wanting to work. Yes, of course, work is the driving force, but that is because they don't know. Even I was like that. I am known in my friend circle that I'm a very restless person. But it's during the lockdown period I discovered I'm not so a restless person. The point is, I will give you an example. Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas's father, he used to be a chain smoker. And then one day he quit smoking. And he used to keep one cigarette in his upper pocket. And whenever he had this urge to smoke, he will take out this cigarette and ask it, you strong, I strong, I strong, and he will put it back. The point is, you need to discover what is it that you want in life. Sometimes being busy can give you an illusion of sort of that I'm happening, but whether it is taking away, and unfortunately, iski realization at a later stage of, मैं कितना ही अपने बेटे को बता दूं कि बेटा family बड़ी important है, जिया कर. He said, Dad, you left home when you were 19. So some things you discover over a period of time, unfortunately, in life. And everybody has to come to their own education. Everybody has to come to their own lessons. You cannot necessarily tell people that this is how you should. You can give a reference point without boasting about it.
Okay, I think we're nearly at the end. One last question to each of you. Ishi, if I could just ask you, what way do you think the pandemic and the impact of the last 1 year, I think it is going to leave lasting changes, right, on everyone. There is going to be something that will leave us with. What to your mind are some of the lasting changes that we will carry with us going forward from this? Ishi, that was to you, yeah.
Okay. I think the ability to detach oneself is one of the key learnings, and that how little we need to survive has been one of my best learnings. And yet I'm not sure how long this will last, but people are people, and memory is also short, and we do go and gravitate towards silly things and mindless living. But I really hope that we are able to take that message of the fact that we can do with very little, and our needs should be really something which should be, I'm not saying everyone needs to be frugal or anything like that, but I just feel that we need to limit our frivolous, whatever we are doing, frivolous activities. And I would really look at this also as an opportunity for people to understand how important food is in their lives. And not because I am in the space that I am, but I believe that food is what defines not only us, it's the Brahman, it's our existence, it's our connection with the world, and it's also going to define our future generations. So what we put into our mouth, what goes at the end of our fork or our spoon is extremely critical. So don't take your bodies casually. Your body is like a temple. Just respect whatever you put into it. And even if it's a COVID or a pandemic, which is bringing this to us, let's keep it as an important message and a learning. And that we are really ourselves in the driving seat when it comes to our health. So that's exactly what we've been talking about, that it's all within us, and we shouldn't be blaming anybody XYZ or XY situation. We should really take the responsibility of deciding how we want to live, and live to the best, and that's possible with very little. So,
Banji, last words from you before we end.
No, I will sum it up from what I was saying earlier. This pandemic made us realize that life can be too short. Live it. That is what is important. It's important, and feel compassion. And also, I would like to read out the last paragraph of the introduction of this book, which somehow sort of answers your question in some way or the other. You said, now what will the impact of this be? So it says that this book is an attempt to reach out to everyone and share common experiences, a journey of self-discovery, willpower, small triumphs, and the strength of positive thinking. The battle ahead of us is long, but together we will persevere. Our resilience will bring us back on the path of glory. Something tells me that all of us wrote the future during this unprecedented time, a future where the world will be healed, a future where the coming generation would look up to us as the pioneers of a healing world. So इसका impact आज पता ना लगे, मगर आने वाले सालों में जरूर पता लगेगा through us. Something has changed in us. I'm sure it's very natural for us to go through that change.
All right.
So live life.
Live life. I think that's the overall lesson and message that has come from here. I think we're over time now. So thank you both so much for joining us. Ritesh Paliwal, I'm going to throw it across to you.
Thank you, Vikram. First of all, I would like to thank you for asking right kind of questions for the benefit of the group.
He always does that.
Yes. So my takeaway for the session is to remain positive and healthy, both mentally and physically. And I would like to end the session by thanking Mr. Khair and Ms. Khosla for sharing enormous experience and positivity with us. I'm like 100% charged with positivity now. In the end, a great thanks to Ms. Radha Bhatia for initiating the leadership program. I think this is going in right direction for the leaders in the business, like what I am, and for the younger ones, how to look up to the experienced people like Mr. Khosla and Mrs. Khosla and Mr. Khair. So thank you very much for everyone being part of the discussion, and hopeful to see you soon in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Ishiji. Nice. Thank you. Lovely to talk
Lovely.
to you, Vikram.
It's a privilege and an honor to be on this
My
panel.
pleasure too, my pleasure. Thank you. Bye, Vikram. Say hi to everybody in your family.
Will do.
It's